everyone. Welcome to the Mufasa book reading. My name is Julia, and we are still reading from Dr. Sunny Stout-Rostron's book titled Business Coaching, Wisdom and Practice. Enjoy.
Chapter 4, Working with Question Frameworks. At its core, the coaching relationship is a strong personal connection between two individuals that typically occurs out of public view and whose workings may even appear mysterious to outsiders. Coaching is fundamentally a process for facilitating learning and change, which is another way to describe development. This chapter explores the range of coaching question frameworks available in the marketplace. For example, those of John Whitmore, Nancy Klein, and Jenny Ditzler. A framework is a structure that tends to be linear, progressive, and visible. A question framework is a sequence of questions with steps or stages. Stages indicate the possibility of non-linear movement between the parts. Steps indicate a number of linear or progressive questions as part of its process. The GROW and CLEAR models have developed detailed linear question frameworks as part of their process. I describe how to use 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10 stage frameworks, including NLP and the thinking environment processes with examples for understanding. This chapter is designed to have you look specifically at how you can develop your own questioning process. One of the most difficult paradigms for a coach to understand, as opposed to being a teacher or a therapist, is not to provide answers or solve the client's problems for them. The greatest gift you can offer is to help the client consider ideas, approaches, strategies, behaviors, and other approaches and actions not previously considered. Although, as I have outlined, coaches typically don't offer advice. Clients will sometimes ask for an opinion, information, or guidance. It is important in the circumstances that the coach gives the required support or observation without telling the client what to do. The client's own strategic insight and learning is crucial for change to happen. Structure, working with question frameworks. Whether your practice is aligned or not to a specific coaching model, your question framework creates a structure for the coaching conversation. Each individual coaching session synchronizes with the overall journey you embark on with your client. I will refer to the coaching intervention as the questions, observations, and challenges that the coach makes during the coaching conversations with the client. There needs to be a clear structure to your conversation, and although in this chapter we examine creative uses of existing question frameworks, we'll also explore coaching models in depth in Chapter 5 and examine how question frameworks are integrated into those models. The purpose of this chapter is to consider various linear question processes to help coaches explore client issues from a neutral perspective, one that is non-directive of the client. Specific sequences of questions are useful for the business coach, either as a way to get started with a new client or simply as a tool to be used as part of their own coaching model. Common experiences, which shape the culture of a society, may impact on those frameworks that are more useful to you than others. South Africa is a complex, multicultural society. Yet within organizations, there will be commonly shared values, beliefs, and assumptions about leadership, management, responsibility, experience, and language. There are also subtle influences on organizational culture and individual behavior due to the mix of history, family background, language, religion, and education within an organization. Another important factor may be whether an organization works with an individual or collective attitude to leadership and management. Within South Africa, there is often a mixture of the two. The culture of the coach may also differ from the culture of the client. For example, I originate from a results-driven, action-oriented, continual learning American culture, which emphasizes the individualistic, egalitarian, performance-driven, comfortable with change, and action-oriented. This may reflect a belief about leadership and development that may need to be aligned with the client if their cultural assumptions reflect a collective rather than an individual focus. This collective preference could put more emphasis on relationship-oriented results. We discussed the impact of diverse cultural experiences and various cultural frameworks on the coaching context in Chapter 6. What is important is for the coach to be open and flexible to the assumptions, beliefs, and culture within the client organization. The following examples of coaching question frameworks are generic. It is up to the individual coach to determine where and when these frameworks may be useful as a structure for a coaching conversation, or simply a tool to be used within the conversation. I indicate at the end of the chapter where you can find more information on each framework. For the remainder of this chapter, we will look at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10 stage question frameworks to begin to understand the basics of coaching interventions. My aim is to help you to look at how and what you do as a business coach to develop and expand your own competence through new learning. 2-stage frameworks. In the early 1990s, when I first started to coach team leaders and executives who headed the teams I was training, I worked with simple question frameworks. The first question framework I worked with was a 2-stage framework, which ultimately led to an understanding of the core components of emotional intelligence, that is self-awareness, self-management, social or relationship awareness, and social or relationship management. At that time, I used this 2-stage question framework to help clients determine their underlying values, beliefs, and feelings as a preparation for setting goals and understanding their own intrinsic drivers and sources of stress and conflict at work. It was an insightful position to begin a coaching conversation, as it went to a deeper level than just understanding what was working, what was not working, and what, if anything, could be done differently. This 2-stage framework looks at intrinsic drivers or motivators and help us understand if the client's goals are in alignment with their key drivers. Understanding intrinsic drivers or motivators. The simple 2-stage framework provides an insightful position from which to begin a coaching conversation. Part of the briefing before doing this exercise is to talk with the client about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Motivation is intrinsic to our underlying values, beliefs, and feelings. The coach wants to find out what constitutes these internal or intrinsic drivers for their client. I explained to the client that external or extrinsic motivators come into action when someone else tries to tap into or engage our internal motivators to encourage us, to make us want to do something. The questions help the client to discover their own intrinsic drivers or motivators and help both coach and client to identify whether the client's personal and organizational goals are in alignment with their personal and professional internal drivers. As suggested in Chapter 2, the team and the organization depend on the individual achieving their goals. In order to do so, goals must be in alignment with internal drivers or motivators. Otherwise, there will be internal conflict or stress. When I demonstrated this in front of a group of learner practitioner coaches, they were surprised at the depth of the answers. This is because the coach is uncovering the individual's core feelings, values, and beliefs. These can touch on individual existential anxieties. It'll be very difficult to achieve the individual's goals without harnessing their intrinsic drivers. This process is important as the individual's motivators must be aligned not to just their own goals, but also to the goals of the team and the organization. Typical responses are intangibles which cannot be measured. For example, achievement, balanced life, peace of mind, recognition, and acknowledgement, a higher purpose, affiliation, financial security, honesty, integrity, balance, freedom to choose, doing something of value, and giving something back, support, and teaching. If you use this question framework, explain to the client that external motivators come into effect when someone tries to engage our internal motivators, to encourage us or to make us want to do something. Examples of extrinsic motivators are the working environment, feedback, recognition, and titles, salaries and bonuses, personal health, plans, holiday leave, education and training, and overall salary package and benefits such as a company car or share options.
Thank you for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share to your family and friends. Bye.